Rashad, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Good morning and welcome to Insights and Straight Talk. I'm Rod Duff. I'm your host. Producer Barbie is here, of course, and today this one's going to be fun. Actually, it's going to be different, but I'm going to go through the opening monologue because there was some sort of personal emergency, and so I'm going to be making it fun all on our own. I'm also going to be talking to you about this program that I have, and I want to get your feedback on some emails. Sorry, I forgot I've got this one over here too. Got some emails that I'm sending out. I want to get some feedback from you. So anyway, it's going to be fun, original monologue, because when you put two podcast hosts in the same room, two people who both love long form conversation, two people who both thrive on curiosity, two people who both believe in the right question changes everything. You don't get an interview, you get velocity. Rashad Woods, co-founder and host of Tron Podcast, The Randomness of Nothing, I love that name, built his show around curiosity, real conversations, entrepreneurs, creators, people building something out of nothing. And here's what I respect. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for a media company to tap him on the shoulder. He started the conversation. That's something we believe in deeply here, because at Insights and Straight Talk, we are building something too. We are building a media ecosystem that serves the great middle class. Conversations about business, conversations about health, about education, conversations about leadership. And we didn't script it, we let it breathe. We let ideas collide. That's part of what I'm going to talk about today. That's where the growth happens, you know. That's now here's what makes today interesting. Rashad brings Detroit energy. We'll try and give that as much as we can. We could certainly provide Midwest grit. Martial arts discipline, been there, absolutely. Entrepreneurial curiosity. He and I are brothers from another mother. And when curiosity meets straight talk, the words are going to fly. We talk about building audiences in a distracted world. Think about that. The world that I'm living in now is building audiences in a distracted world. I'm moving into an even more distracted world. We'll talk about discipline, physical and mental discipline. We'll talk about why conversation still matters in 2026. We'll talk about creators, culture, and what it takes to sustain momentum. And here's the part I'm most interested in. When two hosts both like to ask questions, who ends up answering more of them? We're about to find out. Before we begin, I want to thank our sponsors, including Leaf Lab and the Regeneration School Project, which we'll get into more in a minute. Organizations, they are ones who believe in agile learning, real world skills, and preparing the next generation for conversations that actually matter. Because conversation is infrastructure. Curiosity is infrastructure. And when those collide, something gets built, you know? So buckle up. This is going to be fast. And this is going to be a short one today. This is going to be layered. And yes, this is going to be fun. Let's bring him in. So who I'm actually bringing him in is myself. Please bring on questions fast. I've got a lot going on today. I know I sound like I'm kind of now getting into this gruff tone. Appreciate you guys jumping in already. I don't mean it that way. I just I'm on this big turn in about, I usually get up somewhere around 3 o'clock, as late as 4 o'clock. I do go to bed fairly early. Sometimes I don't go to bed fairly early. It just depends on what's happening in my world, in the world of there you go. Let me come back down here, move that over. Sorry, I got to clean up a couple of things. But in the world of insights and straight talk, I want to read you something. See if I can bring this up. I should be able to. No, it's not there. I want to bring chat this. No, not that one. Gosh darn, I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay, what did I do with it? I want to talk to you about something I'm working on. I want to get some feedback from you guys. The hell did I do with it? Let me just bring something up. I've been working on this email because, as you know, part of the school regeneration school project, let's see, I believe this is where I want to go with this. Yeah. So let me show you a couple different things here that are interesting. I'm going to scroll through an email that gives you a lot of data. And I'm sorry, I'm going to probably have to look this way because camera 4 is over here. So let me put on camera. Oh, actually, no, you won't even see me. So let's do it this way. This is good. Here. And I'm going to close this window. And can I make this larger? Of course I can. I can't see your emails right now, and that is upside. That's interesting. It mirrored. Oh, I'm on mirror. Okay, I don't want to be on mirror here. That looks funny, doesn't it? I don't know if it looks funny, but yeah, it's, let me go into here. Let me go into camera. Let me go into unmirror, not unmirror, but take the mirror off. And here we are. So give you a little background. As you all know, I moved here to Mangum, I don't know exactly now. I think it's a little over 5 months ago. And I moved here. Hey, there's 155 people on. Appreciate y'all being here and listening to my story. Again, this is going to be a short one today because I want to, we got some great, thank you very much. Love you. Thank you. I appreciate it, Matthew. But I'm really looking forward to this mission that I am on. Sorry, there's a big reflection because the screen's now white. I normally darken it, but because I'm on camera 4, so you watch how my thing is. See how much, there's not so much there now, and then there's a lot there now. Well, no, you can't see. I only, never mind. Oh my goodness. So my point being, I moved here a while ago. You see the Mangum, I guess I should point that way maybe. The Mangum logo up in there in the right corner. You know, we have a couple of different sponsors, including the Mangum City Library. But if you're reading this email that I have not sent, but I've got a number of officials and influential people or important people to the town that I've been communicating with. So I'm going to read this email and I want to get some feedback from you guys on it. I know that's not what you came here to discuss, but we'll roll into some of these questions that are coming in because it's such an exciting topic. Unfortunately, our guest today had some sort of personal thing come up or something happened and there was a conflict, and I found out about this at like 3 a.m. here. Like I said, I get up early in the morning and I guess they sent out the notification at like 9 or so, 9:30 last night. They tried me on several different accounts, but I was breathing heavy by then, feeling very heavy, very comfortable. So here's the email. It says, I say, good afternoon. And hold on, is it this? Okay, why aren't you moving now? Okay, so I'm projecting this. Where can I move you? Oh, let me do it this way. How do I move it? That's not going to work out good. Okay, I thought I had it all set. Sorry, dudes. Hold on. Let me go all the way back down here. There's a way to move that because I've done it before. Oh, is it this one? I think it's this one. Yeah. Sorry, guys. All right. I'm getting my act together here. I haven't done that in a while, so my apologies. Where is my... I'll make this picture bigger again. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so that's where I want to move it. Here is where, okay, I get it. All right, I was not quite all together there yet. Let me do this so I can read it, bring it all the way out for you guys. So here is the email. Now I could have practiced that, but everything kind of shifted on me too quickly to prepare for, let's say. So I'll get to your guys' questions here in a second. I'm going to go through this email so I can get it off my mind here. And the email says, subject, Mangum 2030, internal alignment, measurable action, and cost framework. Good afternoon. I'm going to be sending this out. Today is Saturday. I'm going to send it out on a blind, well, you'll hear everything here. You're receiving this message via blind carbon copy. This is intentional. I want each of you to have the opportunity to read this privately, reflect independently, and form your own opinion without pressure or public positioning. For months, I have been working deliberately and quietly on a structured strategy for Mangum. This is not spontaneous enthusiasm. It is not reactive. It is the result of studying our numbers, our trends, our assets, and our trajectory. It is personal. I did not relocate here casually. I moved here because I believe in America and I believe in the great middle class. Our strength has never come from extremes. It has always come from our diversity, our steadiness, and our collective bulk. The stable center that sustains the nation. Mangum embodies that center. This town has endured droughts, economic shifts, agricultural transitions, general turnover, and population decline. It was once known as the Queen City of the Southwest. There is pride in that history, and there's grit in these streets. There is beauty in the open land, in the skies that stretch endlessly, and in the people who still choose to build their lives here. But there are also signals and data we must confront honestly. Population, 2,750 people and gradually declining over the last 2 decades. Median household income, 56,000, below the state average. Poverty rate, nearly 18 to 20%. Median home income, $60,000 to $95,000, well below the state and national medians. I say state because we're in a rural area, right? Mangum is in Oklahoma. It's not, comparatively speaking, the revenues are not Texas or Florida or New York or Chicago or whatever. Different, right? So these are considerably lower. If they're lower than Oklahoma, obviously lower than the nation. Graduation rate in the mid 80% range, okay? Youth out migration after 18 continues to be steady. In the most recent local special election, fewer than 10% of eligible voters participated. When fewer than 1 in 10 eligible residents participates in shaping local direction, it signals something deeper than politics. It signals disengagement from process and perceived impact. Civic energy is directly tied to economic vitality. It has only been in recent months, after meeting many of you personally and listening carefully, that I realized the pieces already exist. What has been missing is alignment. That realization is why I'm formally presenting this framework to you now. So I'm presenting what I call an official strategic report called Mangum 2030, a rural reset model. So just looking at it from like an executive vision. Position Mangum, Oklahoma as a measurable national pilot model for rural revitalization. Build locally, documented transparently, and scale across Oklahoma and beyond. Strategic pillars overview: rural digital economic engine, increase media income without geographic relocation, health and civic infrastructure, strengthen workforce and academic stability through physical capacity. Youth, this is the third strategic pillar, youth civic leadership pipeline. Restore the youth engagement and retention. Housing and intentional relocation. I love this. Stabilize population and responsibly grow the property values. Mangum City Civic Index. Track and publish measurable progress. Estimated cost structure for this is I'll just go down to the year, but you could see each one. This is for the state budget, right? For each of these items that would be, and these are things that can be handled in many different directions or ways. But on the low end, estimated investment would be $60,000. High end would be 70. It'd be spread across city support, business sponsorship, private donors, health partners, education grants. This is very manageable to do, and the return is measurable. Projected impact, listen to this. This is what's the exciting part of what I've been studying and what I've been looking at. And why Mangum? You've heard me talk about this show after show after show, the fact that Mangum is a very small town, but it is also the seat of Greer County, which is centrally located in Oklahoma, southwest Oklahoma. It's in southwest Oklahoma. All of that matters because it's small enough to be manageable, and the investment manageable, and large enough and important enough to be scalable. So let's go through some things. Projected impact, conservatively. If 25 residents increase income by $10,000, so in other words, 10%, if 10% of the town roughly increases income by 10% annually, that's $250,000 to $500,000 new circulating income. If 20 new families relocate, you increase tax base, you increase school stability, increased retail activity. If property values rise by 10 to 15%. Now, each of these are going back to the pillars, okay? And comparing that ROI. So if property values rise by 10 to 15%, it's obviously a stronger household equity. That's important, especially with some of those numbers I gave you. Greater long-term wealth stability. If youth retention improves by 20%, population decline stabilizes. This is not theoretical, it's literally mathematical. National positioning after internal alignment. To be transparent, as I'm telling these people, this is an email sending out to several key people. I have storyboarded the structure briefing. I think I've actually put that up on the show before, early on when I moved here. It's interesting how this path. I was talking to God this morning, and I remember the exact moment because I was on this path. I was walking here, and just thinking and listening to the songs that I play on the way into here, and it's amazing how this path keeps laying out in front and picking this location and becoming part of this community, and all the reasons I vaguely thought about are really kind of now starting to open up in front. So back to this national positioning. I have storyboarded structured briefing materials designed for congressional representatives, outlining Mangum as a rural pilot model. These materials define, number one, what measurable framework we would implement, what data we would track, what policy flexibility rural towns require, what scalable model Oklahoma could replicate. No congressional conversations have yet begun. This is also intentional. Once we are aligned locally, the conversations become strategic. Workforce development support, broadband and digital infrastructure coordination, rural health grant eligibility, youth retention, pilot funding, excuse me, in other words, youth retention pilot funding, recognition of Mangum as a demonstration model for Oklahoma. Oklahoma needs a proof point. Mangum can be it. Direct call to action to everybody here. I am requesting a private round, well, it doesn't have to be private, but a roundtable discussion within the next 30 days to determine, one, can we begin within the next 90 days? What requires coordination? What metrics we formally adopt? And what role each of us can play? No politics. There's no politics in this. There's no credit seeking. There's no grandstanding, or there's no waiting for a rescue. Just disciplined alignment. Mangum does not need to grow large. That conversation has been circled around so many times, and I agree with that conversation, but it doesn't need to become large. You know what it needs? It needs to grow intentionally. If we align, Mangum will not remain statistically rural. It will become historically significant. And that statement really does relate to that story that I was just telling a minute ago about walking here and how certain things are just unfolding. And I love that about what's happening. So I'm ready to present the blueprint in person and begin implementation planning immediately. Let's decide whether we remain a quiet data point or become a rural turning point Oklahoma has been waiting for, with conviction and respect. Rod Duff, Insights and Straight Talk, blah, 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 blah. So that's it. Let me turn back to one here. Hello again. How are you all? Looks like there's a lot of people on. I'm going to come out of full screen so I can read your messages better here. Looks like we got some good ones already starting in here. Here, let me pop that up. Matthew, how are you? Matthew, great show already. Love how real this conversation feels. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's, I think that's part of the reason this show is kind of, oh man, did I forget my water in the other thing? I'm going to put something up here. I'm going to put a banner up. Please be patient with me. I'm flying solo here. I think I can do that. I'm going to put this up. That's a welcome one. I think there is a be right back right here. I will be right back. Give me just a second. Sorry about this, folks. My apologies. Okay. What do you want? I'm back. Oh man, oh man. Give me a second. Hold on. I got to move something over here. There it is. All right. So we have 315 people on. I guess I should actually get to the show here. And as I put here, great show already. Love how real this conversation feels. I appreciate that, Matthew. I'm going to run through some of these and kind of go through the point. I hope everybody. We've been on this arc for some time now. And the show is kind of developing to me. The show feels like it's kind of developing into one of those runs on arcs, which are coordinated as I call lanes. And the reason I'm calling the show's themes being an arc is because there's multiple different lanes within this show, right? There's the technology lane. Hell, I can just look at it. Let me give you some of the titles. I want to change these titles. I'm not real excited. So the one lane, which are called playlists on this show, is called Self-Compassion, Healing, and Life Lessons. And that's where the teens around the table and Voices at the Table and the Regeneration School Project that kind of started out of Emma's work with me. It's funny, I was talking to my son last night and he said, is Emma still doing shows with you? And we talked about how we have talked already. New school, new job, started boxing and trying to have some sort of a life and homework. So I said, hey, let's take a little bit of time step back. But anyway, that's where that came from. The other playlist, and that has right now 75 videos in it. I'm still cleaning all this up right now. There's actually more than that in videos, but there are 75 videos in that self-compassion, healing, and life lessons lane or playlist. 500 is 500 episodes is Insights and Straight Talk. This is the full episodes, mental health, AI, finance, and it goes on and on and on because it's all of the lanes. Meanwhile, I'll jump over to 182 episodes, which is Oops, We Did It Again, bloopers, laughs, and your favorite outtakes. Then the next lane has 92 videos, of which the Jetsons were right. Tech is here. Are we ready? And then the last one, that lane has 64 videos, and it is called Power, Wealth, and Truth. Protect your money, family, and that one is got to be split up because there's a whole bunch of videos that haven't fallen into some of these because they've got to rename them. Like there should be a leadership lane. Leadership and coaching lane. because we have a lot there that aren't falling into any of these, even though they kind of they talk about power, they talk about this. So there's going to be some changes, but you see there we have 530 episodes for you to get into and talks amongst the things that we do in this show. And so in that vein, Kelly, how does curiosity actually become a competitive advantage in real life? Well, and that for me is probably the proudest question I've ever been asked to give an answer to. Does that make sense? The question that you asked is probably the proudest question that I get to answer because of how I feel about that question, that thing. By the way, IMS, Independent Media Source. So I'm blowing it out here today. So Kelly, to answer your question, how does curiosity actually become competitive advantage in real life? Huge question, huge advantage. Curiosity does a number of things. Let's just take it. Let's say you're a salesperson. Let's just take that as the occupation, somebody's household. In sales, I am considered a good salesperson. In the industry that I develop my skill sets as a salesperson and as a marketing person, but more as a salesperson. I consider myself a very good marketer, and a lot of people consider me an amazing salesperson. Although I've never considered teaching sales. But to relate what I just said to that question, curiosity, when you are a curious person, when you have curiosity as a general base in who you are, in your DNA and your makeup. I don't mean just forced curiosity or practice this or that, but when you develop, and it's developed, I mean, you don't have to be born with it, but you have to really develop it. You have to believe. You have to be curious. You don't have to. Anything less than that is a little bit off-putting at times because of the way it's seen, the way it comes across. There's many important aspects. So I don't just want to say be curious. I mean, it's something I say all the time personally, and I know my guest, Mr. Wood, would have the same answer to this, because when you're curious, you really want to know. I mean, you really want to know. So when I was in sales, first of all, I started closing from the moment I talked to people, just softly, just jokingly, just this, just that, just to kind of start building a relationship that's respected on both sides. And all these key buzzwords are fun, and they're important, but they're not the whole thing. So I closed right from the beginning, but in that, I was being curious, because as I'm closing, I'm curious about his reaction or her reaction. Boom, boom. That's information. Curious at what the pain points are. There's a lot of buzzwords and a lot of things, but the unfortunate part is the buzzwords are between the buzzwords, those gaps aren't filled in with real solid stuff. And this curiosity is what is the solid stuff. And to continue it, when you're curious, you learn how to sell somebody. That person, everything is unique. I sell extruders, made equipment, molding machines, sold those, sold big equipment, sold little equipment. I've sold all my life. It's just the nature of who I am. And that's all fantastic. But first of all, there's order takers and salespeople. Let's just take the order takers out of the equation, because that's another thing, and it is fun. It is what it is. Our world is what it is, and there's no disrespect or anything one way or the other. But there are literally order takers, put them aside, and then there are salespeople. And the world economics, capitalism, cannot occur without money exchanging hands. And money cannot exchange hands without an active sales environment being taken place at that moment. So it's a very important thing. Curiosity enables a relationship to bond, to grow, to become, to develop. Curiosity gives people answers to questions, which is great for the salesperson, but you know what? It's also great for the purchaser, because when that relationship is developing that way through curiosity, then the receiver, the thing that the receiver receives is far beyond any other kind of interaction could occur. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and it's a longer lasting relationship, and it's a way. Curiosity opens widely the world to the person who is. And the person who is grows tremendously. Now, whatever the results are, I mean, I've had wins, successes, and failures all over my life. But I'm an extremely curious person. And I say to you this, that if I wasn't an extremely curious person, I would probably have an opposite comment to what I said a second ago. There would be maybe some successes. The other side would stay the same on successes and failures. So I'm fortunate that I have recently and definitely realize the importance of curiosity. And that's not by theory. That's by lived experience. That's by fact. That's by knowing over 63 years of being curious. That's by knowing. And finally in my life, because of the break, because of producer Barbie, because of many things that have lined up, especially recent, my grandkids, originally my kids, because of those things that have lined up in my life, I've been fortunate to finally come to this point and have something left to now turn that curiosity into expanding the journey and the mission that I'm on, with confidence, by the way. And that's not said out of arrogance or put offish or anything like that, but there's a point in your life, and that I'm on this arc right now about family monarchs, and not is it monarch? Yeah. Anyway, the monarch of your family, and it's about women and how they evolve through stages within their lives. And this is a important part of rebuilding the middle class in our mission, in our discussions. And I won't go through all that, but the curiosity of how we are acting as a society and the values that we are having now today is something that gives power now, because of the curiosity, not just, it's all happening out there, but it's like, okay, there's more to it than that. There's more color between the layers, and that curiosity has really enabled me to be on a show that has such a wide, diverse range of topics, each one of which has the impact, or has a impact on the great middle class. And the rules fit like this. We cover, this show is a beacon for the great middle class amongst the noise, for anything that concerns or empowers the great middle class. That's it. And now that's obviously a lot of things. I mean, we were talking yesterday. There's more than two, but I said politics affects everybody in the great middle class, every part of their life. So does food, health affects everybody, every part of their life. It could have gone into school, education does as well. Those are pillars, that need to become secure and growing and viewed and spotlighted for utopia that is coming. And we can get into all that discussion, but for that utopia to become beneficial to the great middle class, that's why all these things, there's four lanes or playlists. There's arcing lanes, or arcing discussions. That's why I say there's a rhythm to this show, because it's an ecosystem. Across that ecosystem, the message is arc. And we cover those lanes in these discussions with experts. 530 shows now in a year and a half, and it's all very exciting stuff, and it's all just in its infant stage. But being curious widens the scope of, first of all, knowledge, or seeing, realization, and then acceptance, and then action. Curiosity is the thing that on its own is probably the biggest thing that can grow anything, grow a family, if you approach your partner constantly with curiosity, and I don't mean the being all up in your Kool-Aid kind, or I'm jealous of you. Where are you at this moment? Curiosity is not that. That's not curiosity. Curiosity is, who is this partner of mine? What is our path? What planning, curiosity, what can I do today to be happy with her at our fullest? And that sounds a little woo-woo-ish, but it just kind of figure out there what I'm kind of saying, because I've been talking about curiosity for a long freaking time. 15 minutes, I think. Kelly, you got a big answer. But curiosity is really, really important. And I've actually started thinking about maybe building a community of salespeople, because I'm starting to realize how underdeveloped the industry is. And I'd love to chat more about that. But curiosity is huge in becoming competitive in real life, in family. Curiosity with your mate, your family, your boy, your girl. Why is she acting that way? What is it? And it's just a different approach. It's just and now I'm kind of leaning back into Voice at the Table and the Regeneration School project. There's so much work that needs to be done. And it's straight. You read the email there with me. It's so easy to do. No, I shouldn't say that. It's not hard to figure it out. It's there. We can do this. It does take work and effort, but as I started the show off at the very beginning, one of the first things I was saying, because it's when we get back, when we there's upstream and downstream events that position reality. And one of the first things I started talking about, or actually producer Barbie and I started talking about, this show came from a book I've written. I haven't written the book. I've written the in a memoir, which is a nonfiction. You don't actually write the book when you're getting an agent. You write a book proposal to attract an agent or publisher, and then they work with you to complete that book. I mean, the book proposal is like 500 pages. It's not small, but basically it just shows the chapters. They want to see how your writing is. So you have 3 chapter samples, and then you compare the book and how it relates to others, and then you talk about your platform. So that's where I kind of said, okay, I need to build a platform. And quite not so unexpectedly, but somewhat unexpectedly, but looking back, not so unexpectedly because of the path that I'm on. This thing blew up and it's continuing to blow up. It's actually gaining more momentum now, which is the good thing. But we're very serious about this, and I want to get back to the book for sure, because I love writing. I mean, that's been a thing in my life. But at the end of the day, let's get off the subject and let's move forward, because there's a lot to do, and it can all be done. It's all manageable. It's all equitable. It's just a matter of, but in doing that, I talk about in the email, we need the bulk. The bulk of the great middle class is what makes it all happen. So we'll continue on other conversations, but live energy is strong. This convo feels important. Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate that, man. And it is. Actually, let me not leave that so easily. Live energy is strong. And that gets back to being curious, and which in that conversation, I was talking about sales, and that live interaction, it's great on the phone. It's really cool here, and then it's really cool in person. That live interaction and that feeling that vibe and that feeling that energy and seeing the facial expressions and leaning in or leaning out of the person's point, that physical awareness, those physical guidelines that people should read from one another constantly. All have maybe a varying ability, but we all have an ability to read how you're reacting. Read how the person you're communicating with is reacting to what you're communicating about. Does that make sense? That's a skill. I think almost guaranteed we had it as a baby, so I don't know how much of a skill learned versus already partially intact and then developed it is, but we should be reacting. When I first started in sales, this is one of the first things I learned, and it felt like a cheat code in the beginning, and until I grew up, and then it felt like, because I could read, when I was a little kid, is really weird. Okay, let me diverge a little bit here. You know how I go. When I was a little kid, I always, I remember the x-ray glasses. That got me on this concept of being able to read people's minds because of my childhood. Excuse me. There's very real, I'm not coughing because of what I'm going to say. There's very real reasons that when I was younger, I needed to figure out the room really quick. At times, particularly, or the person really quick, or the situation really quick. And then on top of that, I was raised in a military family. I say was raised, I'm an old guy now, right? The family's different. But I was raised in a military family. So I moved all over the country, all over the world, I've been all over the world anyway. So I went to 8 different elementary school, 8 or 9. I always say 8, but it might be 9, and 3 different high schools. And not because I was a bad kid, not that I was a good kid, but I wasn't moving because of being a bad kid. It was the military, right? Lifestyle. You and the military, hoorah, you Marines, you know what I'm talking about. So at the end of my phone on. Wow. Should be silent. So at the end of the day, I totally forgot my point, but I'll remember it after a little bit. But thank you again, Nick. I appreciate your comment here, and the show is really important, and I can tell as it's laying out in front of me, or us, that we're in the right direction. We're on the right path. Like I was saying, to save part of that conversation, wherever the hell it was going now. But what I was saying is I've been all over this country. I've met all walks of life. I've enjoyed all walks of life and all city type. When I was in sales, going back to sales, I talk about being important, being in a small, in this case, rural town. And the reason I can, with confidence, kind of say that to you over and over again is, again, lived experience. I used to always, when I drove, so sometimes you fly if it's, you're going from state to state or whatever, but then you're there and you've got 10, 12, 15 appointments over a couple day period, driving to those places, either with a factory representative or by yourself. But when you're doing that, a great deal of times you're turning off of major highways and then into communities and then deeper in, and then you're going to the factory. You're going through small towns quite a lot. And in a lot of cases, you're also going through small towns that are in rural areas. I say that because if you look at, let's say, Chicago. So Chicago's a big city. And then you go into the suburbs, and then you have the western suburbs are all kind of one right after the other, kind of like California is in other states, or New York is, or Chicago is. But then you get out a little bit, and then there's a few miles in between towns, and there's farming country or lands or whatever else. And so when I go through that, I became, over time, because of being curious, I became, my God, is this going to be a curiosity show? Well, it could be, actually. It may be, actually. But when I was going through these towns, after a while, I kind of started to daydream and wonder what those people were like. Is it different being Rod in a small town, or Rod in Chicago, or Rod in Naperville, or in Southern California, or there. But my meaning being, this time I went small town, rural area, county seat, but it's going to be interesting to feel that out, because I've always been curious about it. I've always thought. And then the show has given me the opportunity to say, hey, well, let's go find out what I was thinking. And in the meantime, fulfill being accountable to my show, to Insights and Straight Talk, being a middle American, great middle class right here. So thank you. I appreciate it, Nick. Let's go here. The Mangum discussion is powerful. Data and vision matters. It does. Yeah. Hey, I'm glad you picked up on that, Mac. So it's going to matter. And as I read that email to you folks, it's going to be interesting. I'll know more in a month, or maybe 2 months. I'll know more. For you who've been around the show for a while, you know that I've been talking about the regeneration since I got here, really. Yeah, no, even before that, but, and that's why I came here. So that whole process is adding a fifth core subject into city schools, public schools. Sorry, I don't know why I said city schools. And in that, there's this point of time that also counselors are involved, and it's K through 12. It's a fifth core subject, and for a placeholder, let's call it life. And in that regeneration school project, it spun off what's called Teens at the Table, and that's giving voice, teaching teenagers how to sit down with adults, have meaningful conversations, or sit down in disagreeable situations and keep their voice and their agency without becoming disrespectful. And it's about money, and it's about mental health, and it's about physical education. PE, I know, but actual physical education. And you get the idea. So it's going to be, as I put in there, Oklahoma needs this. Oklahoma is like 50th in the nation in school, in school systems. They're ranked 50th. Now, that's what I heard 2 days ago. I wonder, I'm sorry, we have 51 states, right? Or no, not, who am I to talk about education? Next to last in education. And so they need this, but they also need data points. Here you go, what you're saying right here. Mangum, the Mangum discussion is powerful. Data plus vision matters. Yes, you get it, girl, you get it. Hopefully you live in Mangum. Open to work. Hey, one of the things we're talking about, if you listen to some of those, that report, if you listen to that, one interesting thing that I think we need and must and should and can drive and look for work that is not that is I just went blank on the name. What I do here, remote work or job opportunities, offsite job companies, and there's a lot of them around. It's doable. We just have to get that organized and approach. So thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hopefully you're from Mangum area or Greer County, maybe. What's the first step in aligning a community like Mangum around one vision? Well, let me tell you what I've done. So I got here about 5 months ago, and this was, as I've always said, this Mangum is my landing spot. Okay, boom, I've landed. My kids are just over the border this way. I don't know if I'm pointing south or not. South, and my other kids are directly that way west. And so there's that, and that's awesome. As soon as I get more opportunity to see them I'd like to see them on like every week. Go to one, then go to the other. Go to one, then go to the other. Spend a couple days, come back. You know, I'm an old bachelor now, and my work can be this right here. Love to get a bigger van to like mount this, and then take the dogs, drive out there, camp along the way. I mean, I like that stuff, and then do some man on the street interviews. We'll get into that later. But what is the first step? Oh, okay. Well, accidentally, Thrive Time Show. Excellent. Business school. Hey, how you doing, guys? I love it when other podcasts come on. What's the first step in aligning a community like Mangum around one vision? The first step is, you know what I've learned? So when I came here, I was a little excited, big city guy bringing big city ideas into a small city. And quickly I learned kind of the opposite's true. There's a lot I've learned about community, about respecting people to a point where you're going to see them every day. And these folks that just ran for office, they're going to be making decisions. And the folks that have been in there and currently are in there in office are they're going to see the people they're making decisions for on a day in and day out or week in, week out basis. The town has only got so much geographics. And the grocery store only has like 7, 8 aisles. So the options are to be the best person in situations possible. And please don't burn a bridge, because if you do, that bridge is burned in a small town, and that would be catastrophic. Oh my God, we've already been doing this an hour. That's gone fast, man. All right, I'm going to go quick here. The first step of, I said this is going to be a short one, and it's not. The first step of to aligning a community like Mangum around one vision is giving the hope that there is possibilities there. There is some things from a big town that I can bring to a small town, that it's doable. You're rural, but there's stuff. Open the box. I've had life experiences that say, hey, I can say, I believe this will work. Let's talk about it. But that conversation, whether it goes anywhere or not, it starts that learning process, that belief that it can be done. And I think I was telling somebody the other day, I think that the hardest part about being rural or a small town, especially a small town or rural area, is that you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you can actually do more. You have more access, or what can I do? Because you haven't experienced that yet. What's doable? IT here is probably very limited, I'm guessing. Well, I'm not guessing, but I'm just saying it's, there's things that can be done that we just need to connect the dots. And when you live in a big city, it's really noisy and it's horrible, and there's bad things about it, and there's this and there's that, higher cost of living, but what there is there's a lot of, it's dense. So there's dense. So you can pretty quickly see what you can potentially get done. Does that make sense? I hope that wasn't too broad brush or vague. But the first step is belief that it can be done, and excitement behind that belief. I'll put it that way. Let's go here to Todd Camfield. Do you think disengagement starts with economics or mindset first? I think mindset. You make a great point, Todd. You do, and this is my opinion, my lived experience. I think it's mindset, because you're talking about disengagement. So I'm doing this. You know what? I'm tired of doing this. I think that mindset, and what I mean by that is that when I say mindset, I mean that you can be extremely productive, somewhat productive, not at all productive. And that usually there's knowledge to it, but usually those three categories are confirmed or conformed around interest, around belief, around mindset, how you think about that situation, that job, that family, that project, there's economics. Do you think disengagement starts? Yeah, definitely. I'm on the right thing. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing one point. Sometimes you guys ask amazing questions, and sometimes I miss subtly in it. Do you think disengagement starts with economics or mindset first? So economics, actually, probably if your mindset's right, economics is probably causing you to get more engaged. Now, we're also learning coming up that more effort doesn't necessarily solve burnout. Okay, so there's balance. You know, I get told this a lot. I never thought about it when I was younger, but I am thinking about it more now that I'm older. I've got a number of people that tell me, you know, be sure and get your rest. You know, make sure, because Marilyn, yesterday, as a matter of fact, in yesterday's show, she specifically said, rest is your best friend. Water, food, supplements, okay, exercise, you know, so on. But the first thing she said, and I believe this 100%, and something I've fought with producer Barbie with forever about, rest is your number one friend. Think about it. If you're sick, especially, or if you're burning energy, of course, right? Your body is doing stuff. When you're eating, your body is working. When you're thinking, your body is working. When I'm looking at that camera lens right there, your body is working on and on and on and on. I get tired doing this, even though I'm sitting on my ass. Luckily, I'm over at Fitness Health Club right here, right? Total Fitness, sorry about that. And that was a free plug. I'm really enjoying this community, and I want to see it grow, and I want every opportunity to know these people. And that's why I'm doing 12 people whispered, a man on the street. That's why I want that, not for here, but that man on the street concept. I want to take out across Oklahoma, and then across, and then to the west, and then to the south, and back and forth. And I've got a lot of plans. I've got a lot of energy. But yeah, I think disengagement starts with a mindset, because if you believe in what you're doing, it's very difficult to sleep, much less disengage. Money can absolutely be a huge drain. I know that as well. So it's a great question. It's a great thing to be curious about. It's a great thing to ponder, because they are two conceptually different things that do have effects on a single area or item. Hey, Paul, I've seen you a number of times. Great to have you here. Great show so far. Staying till the end for sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I am, well, we're getting close to that already, actually. A couple times during the show, I hope I don't miss things and get people going, what is he chattering about? I got other things to do. And it's a Saturday for you folks. I appreciate 360 of you being here today. Russell, you're one of them. How you doing? Russell? You know, it's so funny. I have these lights, microphones, and heating lamps. Oh my God, it's so cold today. Oh my God, it's so, you know, I've been bragging about the sun, and what did God do? He still got winter. Where was I going with that? Anyway, so I've got all this going on, and sometimes I forget to look at the camera because especially, you know, that's really hard to do. And you'll see my eyes are kind of all over the place a lot of times. It's because I'm getting some data from over here, and starting, I was going to do it today, but I screwed something up. While this is going on, starting probably Monday, more than likely Monday. I don't know what time the show is Monday. I need my new intern, B, not producer Barbara or Barbie, not producer Barbie, but intern B. There's a theme started here. I don't know why. Yeah, that literally is how he goes by. 21-year-old kid, good kid, smart kid, and learning something new alongside with me, and so that's fun. That next generation, right? So these ideas deserve attention beyond this live stream. I can't agree with you more. So please share this episode, like this episode, share. And you know what, Russ, would you please, and folks in the audience, all 358 of you, would you watch multiple? Because I say this is an ecosystem in that there's a rhythm to it. I was talking about the arcs, but there's that rhythm within the conversations, because what we do is we take each of those lanes, we have arcs of discussion, different points. Like I was saying earlier, right now we're on a health arc, and we are landing it with my son, by the way. I think it's March 6th, with micro farming and food. In other words, foods tied into that, supplements. We've gone through the different cycles of a woman's life, of muscle building with Marilyn, and having those discussions, and so many more of that coming out of civic involvement, of course, the elections and all that. I'm also tying that a little bit together in that email, and because I've spoken with so many different people that have the desire, but so many more also just want to complain. And that, back to the earlier question, it's about, I said, it's about education, that it can be done, but it's also about creating the pride. You notice in that email, I went back to the history, the beauty of this town, Queen City. It's named Queen City in the Southwest. Think about that. That's a big area. That's a huge part of this country, right? So anyway, lot of great things going on, and it does deserve attention. Please share this episode. The Realtor of the Week here, Russ. By the way, Russ, thanks again. I appreciate that, your comments. How do creators balance discipline with creativity long term? That's hard. Well, it's harder. So, Realtor, I'll just call you Real. Hey, Real. So, here's the thing that you probably already know, but knowing this, being in business and in theater, I in college I had a business and a theater. I was working on both degrees, and it's funny because in business you almost have to be more disciplined than anything else. And to a degree, being creative also, you've got some discipline in that. But discipline can also put harness on creativity. And creativity is so much more fun. That part of your brain just, it's like going to the candy store. Let's see. So you ask a 7, what's the right age? 5? That's definitely candy no matter what. 9, 8? I'm going to try an 8-year-old. Envisioning let's see, what would be still good? Their favorite macaroni, meat, potatoes, drink combination, or I don't know, a bag of Skittles and chocolates. One's more fun, one's better for you, and that's kind of how you picture well, that may or may not be the best picture of creativity or discipline. But in business, you have to have discipline. You have to have structural moments that I think creativity is a little part of in being creativity, and there may be a little part of being disciplined, but as far as balancing those two, I think in creativity over long term, if you have at least even if it's a smaller amount of discipline, you can really guide that creativity without harnessing it. Does that make sense? Richard, can digital income really reverse rural population? Great question. Thank you for asking that, Richard. Yeah, it can. I believe that. As you read the email, I've got a lot of studies that email kind of created, so to speak. I've got a number of studies. I am not don't get me wrong, I'm me. You guys know who I am. So when I say I have a lot of studies, I've done some work, no doubt about it, but I've kind of collated some stuff that I've learned and gained, and it's exciting. But yeah, I think I think if we position this right, meaning Mangum positions this right, I believe that Mangum can really turn that into here's the marketing side and sales side of me. More marketing, I think, at this point to start, right? You guys know what the difference of marketing and sales is, right? Marketing is the broad brush. It's the campaign that makes people aware of what's available to them. The salesperson is the ROI, the relationship and the ROI. It's this broad brush marketing campaign has this widget or those widgets, and that broad brush has brought me to you. Now I got to get you to exchange money with my hands, back and forth. So I believe that Mangum can position itself nationally, let's say, or at least in a broader political sphere. And I think we can position ourselves to become looked at as the rural digital entity. Here's how you can do that. We can become the example, that pilot case, because here's the thing. A lot of states need this, but Oklahoma is also an underdeveloped state. It's not one of the wealthiest states in the country for sure. It's a great state. But if you drive along, you can see a lot of open area. And I know Arizona's done that as well, or is that as well to a lesser degree. But they got, I think, a few more things going for them with economies right around them that I think, like California seeps into Arizona quite a bit, just because people can't handle California. I think that's one of the reasons Arizona is kind of doing better than they may otherwise could have been. But here, in this point here, digital income definitely can be, and it's doable a lot more. I'm not a big fan of what happened to us during COVID, but I'll tell you one thing, the thing that came out of that, that's at the end of the day, a lot of bad things came out of that. How we started reacting, how the government was testing to see how far we would go, how lies were done. There's all that bad stuff that will come out of that. That it has come out of that. That is part of that. And those, I think, will just dwindle away, because it's not the first time stuff like this our government's done to us. But long term, what it did is it sped up this revolution we're on. Think about this. This right here, podcasts, digital meetings, much more digital expansion, camera analytics, much more data. All of that came out of the need to continue to operate as an industry. And all of that became digital. And shortly thereafter, consumables needed to be developed to support that as this was now happening. I could have 12 meetings a day, not just 4. Beyond that, there's so much more to get into that, and that's part of that sales community. That when you're curious, you see a lot more of the world too. You and I live in two different worlds. I mean, if producer Barbie was right here, not over there, or in California, where she actually is right now, the same thing would apply. We would be living in two completely different worlds. The Matrix. My son, Brandon, he's related it to that, and now it always was an interesting curiosity, but now it makes a lot more sense, because if you think about it, everything that comes through your eyes and informs your brain is through a filter of everything that's been up to your life to this point in time. And that filter is causing you to see that situation this way. The person right next to me, my twin sitting right next to me, may be closer, but I don't have a twin, by the way. But your life and my life is completely different because of those slight filters that have developed over the years to become how you see the world, which is different than the person right next to you. And that to me is very, very interesting. So that's just another random concept there. But yeah, I think that the world has changed dramatically, and through that aspect of us having these digital images through what's developed over the last half a dozen years or so, digital income is a reality. AI was already going there. COVID caused us to do this, and now that happens. So yeah, no doubt about it. And honestly, everything else you probably could agree that you did not like what happened through COVID. But that happening right there, digital income, digital, being able to not go to an office necessarily, that's now kind of moving down the road. Now, there's going to be some adjustment here because you still have to go to the office, but you've got additional options. So let me do a couple of things here. Let me turn that on. And let me come down to that. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Just give me a second. I wanted to bring this in. I didn't go past it, did I? I've always loved working by myself. I mean, I do enjoy that. I enjoy working with other people too as well, but my only point to that is I'm solo here. And I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up with you guys. I think we got through all the questions. Awesome questions. I appreciate that. So that's what happens when curiosity meets curiosity. You don't get small talk, you get momentum. And today was amazing. It went by, I mean, we're at an hour and a half already. Today, it wasn't about promotion, it was about perspective. And I loved your guys' question. It was about one person who, there are two that are like-minded, and I used him as our story, but we both believe in conversation still matters. And in a world that's constantly scrolling past depth, if something in this conversation sparked you, go back and listen again, because layered conversations reveal more in the second pass. You got to believe that. Now, here's what I ask you to do. Subscribe to the channel at Rod Duff 1939 on YouTube, not just for the one episode. Watch 3. Get the rhythm. I talked about that earlier. Understand the ecosystem, because Insights and Straight Talk isn't just a show. It's a growing network of ideas tied together across YouTube, across Substack. You guys know the Mangum Star, and obviously live conversations, voices at the table, the Regeneration School Project. We're building something durable, and you're part of it. If you enjoyed the energy today, supporting creators who are building platforms from the ground up, support long-form conversation, support depth, share this episode. Send it to someone who believes dialogue still matters, okay? And as always, stay curious, stay disciplined, and don't let the randomness of the world stop you from building something intentional. We'll see you next time. I'm Rod Duff. I'm your host, and I'm out of here.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. There it is, BQ.